Good afternoon, my lovely nurses. I hope you are fine and your family is good. So, yesterday we talked about the safe and effective care environment related to care and management. So, today our questions are related to safe and effective care environment, but the safety and infection control. So, our first question is, which precautions must a nurse take when checking the blood pressure of an HIV positive client? There are four options. Number A, wear gloves. B, wear a gown. C, use contact precautions. D, wash hands. So, in the question, they mention only the blood pressure of an HIV positive client. They did not mention anything like related to secretions or any blood contact. So, they just mentioned the blood pressure of an HIV positive client. So, we will keep in our mind. Number A, wear gloves. No need. This is incorrect option because they did not discuss any related to blood or secretions. Because if there is a blood and the secretions contact involved, then we have to the listed precautions would be appropriate if blood or secretions is involved, but there is no blood and secretions involved, so no need to wear gloves. Number B, wear a gown. No need. Number C, use contact precautions. No need, because it's just a HIV positive patient and you are checking the blood pressure. The number D, wash hands. Yes, this is our correct option because washing hands is sufficient since taking a client's blood pressure. So, does not involve contact with blood or secretions. So only wash hands before checking the HIV patient blood pressure. The other listed precautions are not appropriate because we are not contact with the blood or secretions. So our right option is D, wash hands. Our second question is, the pediatric nurse is preparing a child with acute lymphocytic leukemia for discharge. The discharge plan should include all but which of the following statements? Mean there are three options are correct. Mean that is correct statement we have to include in the discharge care plan, but one is incorrect, that no need to add in the discharge care plan. So number A, restrict naps to allow more complete rest at night. Number B, increase intake of protein, iron and vitamin C to provide nutrients required for hemoglobin production. Number C, keep a food diary to evaluate dietary intake. Number D, restrict antacids, tetracyclines and phosphorus salt. So one option is incorrect, but that is the correct answer. So which one is, we will check. Number A, restrict naps to allow more complete rest at night. So this one no need to do, because arranging rest periods throughout the day helps promote the client's ability to participate in the desired activities. So no need to restrict the naps to allow more complete rest at night. This is not the right option. So A is incorrect statement, but we will check the other one also, then we will decide which option is the right answer. Number B, increase intake of protein, iron and vitamin C to provide nutrients required for hemoglobin production. Yes, this is our correct option. This one we have to add. Number C, keep a food diary to evaluate dietary intake. Yes, this is our correct statement. Mean that is incorrect for this question, but because this is correct statement, because keeping a food diary help document actual nutritional intake. Number D, restricts antacid, tetracyclines and phosphorus salt. Why we will restrict? Because it will avert absorption of iron. So our right answer is A, the restrict naps to allow more complete rest at night, because this is incorrect statement. This one no need to add in the discharge care plan. Our third question is, the nurse teaches a group of firefighters about the spread of tuberculosis. Which statement by a firefighter indicates the teaching has been effective? Number A, I could get TB if I come in contact with blood from an infected person. I can share a cup of coffee with someone who is infected with TB. Number C, I could get TB if I inhale infected droplets when an infected individual cough. Number D, I need to refrain from shaking hands with an infected person. So, which statement of the firefighter is indicate the correct teaching has been effective. So which statement is right? So number A, I could get TB if I come in contact with blood from an infected person. This is incorrect because the tuberculosis is not spreading through the blood. So this is our incorrect statement. Number B, I can share a cup of coffee with someone who's infected with the TB. Yes, he can share the cup of coffee because the sharing of the cup of coffee will not transmit the tuberculosis. Number C, I could get TB if I inhale infected droplet when an infected individual's cough. So this is our right option. Why this is right? Because the TB bacteria is spread through the air from one person to another. When a person breathes in tuberculosis bacteria, the bacteria can settle in the lungs and begins to grow. So this is the right statement of the firefighter, because due to when he inhale infected droplets from the infected individual coughs, yes, he can get the tuberculosis infection. I need to refrain from shaking hands with an infected person. No need to do. He can shake hands with the tuberculosis infected person because shaking hands cannot transmit the tuberculosis bacteria. Our next question is, after administering the annual Montauk's tuberculin skin test to employees, the nurse instructs the staff to return within how many hours after administration to have the result determined. So they give the Montauk's tuberculin skin test to the patient, and after how many hours we know the test is positive or negative. So number A, 12 to 24 hours. Number B, 24 to 48 hours. Number C, 48 to 72 hours. Number D, 72 to 84 hours. So our right option is here C, 48 to 72 hours, because the Center of Disease Control recommends the skin test be read within 48 to 72 hours after administration. Why? Because our test is considered positive if an induration of 5 to 15 millimeter is observed at the injection site. If the injection site, the induration 5 to 15 millimeter is there, that means that is the positive test. And after 72 hours, if the nurse will check after 72 hours, that is not accurate, and another skin test needs to be conducted. So before 48 hours or after 72 hours, that is not the right option because it will not give us the exact result. So 48 to 72 hours, the option C is the right answer. Our next question is, a client is diagnosed with Meniere's disease. Which nursing diagnose would take priority for this client? So strategy point is priority. So which nursing diagnose is related to Meniere's disease? Number A, a risk for injury. Number B, disturbed body image. Number C, low self-esteem. Number D, impaired skin integrity. So which nursing diagnosis is suitable, or which nursing diagnosis is related to this Meniere disease? So I will go through the option A, the risk for injury. Why? Because the Meniere disease actually occur when the pressure of the fluid in the part of the inner ear. In our inner ear, the pressure of the fluid is get too much high. So due to this reason, the client is at the risk for injury. Why he is in the risk for injury? Because it will alter the mobility, though, so the gait disturbance and vertigo. So even while hearing loss may occur. So it's mean the risk for injury is the right option, because the pressure of the inner ear is high and the patient have the vertigo and this mobility problem, the gait disturbance, so patient can fall down and there is a risk for injury. And the others are the disturbed body image, low self-esteem and impaired skin integrity is not the related nurses diagnosed related to the Meniere disease. Our next question, while driving the client forgets how to get home. Which lobe could be dysfunctional? So which lobe of the brain could be dysfunctional? Due to this reason, the client forget how to get home. Number A, temporal. Number B, parietal. Number C, occipital. Number D, frontal. So first we will talk about the temporal. That is incorrect because temporal lobe regulates memory, speech and comprehension, so is not related to the intellectual functions. Number B, parietal. Parietal is also incorrect because parietal lobe regulates reading and writing ability, so is not related to the intellectual functions. Number C, occipital, is also incorrect option because the occipital lobe is responsible for vision function, so occipital also not related to the intellectual functions. Number D, frontal, this is our correct options because the frontal lobe regulates intellectual functions such as complex problem solving. So frontal lobe is responsible for intellectual function, that's why client forgets how to get home. Our next question, at the scene of an accident, which intervention applies to a client with a suspected neck injury? So patient have suspected neck injury. Number A, administer CPR. Number B, keep a person warm. Number C, do not move the client. Number D, ask the client to state her name and birthday. So we will check one by one. Administer CPR, this is not correct options because they did not mention in the question patient is not breathing or patient is don't have respiratory rate. They did not mention any related to this point, so no need to administer CPR, this is incorrect. Number B, keep the person warm, this is good actually, keep the patient warm, but this is not the priority. Number C, do not move the client, yes, this is our correct option because do not move a client whose neck is an awkward position because patient has suspected neck injury or who's unconscious. So instead keep the client immobilized position and get help, or better to get help immediately, but don't move the patient, don't move the patient neck, otherwise if you will move the patient neck more injury can happen. So this is our right option, do not move the client. Number D, ask the client to state her name and birthday. Asking the client to state her name and birthday may be appropriate if a brain injury is suspected, not a neck injury. So our right answer is C, do not move the client. Our next question is, which treatment should be included in the immediate management of acute appendicitis? Our options are: number A, prevent fluid volume deficit. Number B, administer antibiotic therapy. Number C, reduce anxiety. Number D, relieve pain. So we will check one by one. Prevent fluid volume deficit. This is also good to prevent fluid volume deficit, but this is not the priority this time. Administer antibiotic therapy. This is also good, but after in the recovery, during the recovery phase. Number C, reduce anxiety, that is also important but is not the priority. Number D, relieve pain, yes, this is the immediate need for the management. So relieving pain is the priority option. So our correct option is D because the preventing fluid volume deficit by infusion of IV fluids should occur once the client has experienced initial control of pain, and the antibiotic therapy, as I told you, during the recovery phase. And the anxiety is important but will be partially addressed with the reduction of pain. So our correct option is D, relieving pain is the priority for the nurse to relieve the pain of the patient. Our next question is, the medical management of a client with acute diverticulitis should include which treatment? Number A, increase fiber in diet. Number B, administration of antibiotics. Number C, pain medication administration. Number D, liquid diet for 1 to 2 days. So the diverticulitis actually is a inflammation of the diverticula, is typically from an infection. So in this option we will check which option is the correct option. Increase fiber in diet. Gradually increasing fiber in the diet will occur during the recovery stage of the disease. So this is not the priority this time, so that is incorrect. Administration of antibiotics, yes, this is our correct options because as I told you, is typically from an infection and is the inflammation of the diverticula. So priority treatment is administration of antibiotics to address the root cause of the condition. So administration of antibiotics is the right option. Number C, pain medication administration. Pain medication for residual pain is a would be a second management approach, is also a good option, but is not the priority. Number D, liquid diet for 1 to 2 days. So there is that is undetermined able time, mean to promote the rest of the intestinal tract. A liquid diet is advisable, but is undetermined able time, is not like 1 to 2 days. So this is also incorrect option. So our correct option is B, administration of antibiotics. Our last option of the today's the questions: an enema is prescribed for a client with suspected appendicitis. The nurse should take which action? Number A, tell the client to lie on his left side. Number B, explain the procedure to the client. Number C, compile necessary equipment. Number D, question the physician about the order. So here because already mentioned suspected appendicitis, so keep in mind for the appendicitis the enema is contraindicated for the client because it is increased intestinal motility and may aggravate the appendicitis. So we have to question the physician about the order. The D is the right option. Yes, if there is no mentioned suspected appendicitis, they will just ask about the enema, then all three options are correct. But because they mentioned suspected appendicitis, so question the physician about the order because the enema is contraindicated in the suspected appendicitis. I hope you like the lecture. If you like, please share, subscribe, and give your precious comments. It's really highly appreciated. Take care yourself and your family. Allah Hafiz.